morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us post TV show on our Sunrise stream. 4th of July weekend, come and gone, really different this year. What'd you guys do?
Super quiet at our house. I mean, it wasn't quiet because our neighborhood was like full of artillery. Everybody was shooting off all kinds of fireworks, but we just stayed inside. We're actually binge watching Game of Thrones. I know it's super late, but that's what we're doing.
Wait, for the first time?
Barbecued. Well, I stopped at about season 5, so I never finished it. But yeah, we were just close to home, barbecued, did some burgers and hung out. It finally got nice outside. We thought, oh my gosh, 4th of July is going to be cloudy, but the sun finally broke through.
Yeah.
What'd you guys do?
Rod, what about you?
Well, what I did not do that I normally do is host the 4th of July fireworks down at Fort Vancouver.
Yeah.
So, and I enjoy doing that. I really do. It seems like you see a lot of the same people year after year that take a second and go hi. And I've actually, met some friends where I remember their names and so forth. So I miss that. But, during the day I played some golf with buddies. It was a great day to play golf. And the sun came out, as Brenda mentioned. And then our golden retriever, Maximus, he is super sound sensitive, period, which means the 4th of July is really a difficult time for him. So, my wife and I kind of stayed home and babysat him. And he basically huddled himself in the master closet bedroom, and then my wife set her tablet in there and played water sounds, that relaxing water sound audio that you can play. And so that was our night.
You're a good doggy daddy, absolutely.
Yeah.
Christine, what did you do?
It was a whole lot of nothing, I think. Probably like a lot of people, kind of self-quarantining. I did go out for a run, wearing my mask, and then whenever I saw people, it was right there on my face. Other than that, on my run, I did see a very patriotic beaver. If you're wondering about that, I know. You can go to my Instagram page. I definitely posted a picture. Yeah, it was a beaver. It was a statue, so not a real living, breathing beaver. It had a patriotic bow tie on.
That's funny. The other
not an
thing,
Oregon State fan, just a beaver. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing, Christine, we're talking about this morning is the kiddos getting ready to go back to school in the fall. And districts really don't know what that's going to look like quite yet.
Yeah, well, districts are going to have to submit a plan, at least in Oregon, to the Department of Education by August 15th. And of course, districts across the state really hunkering down, trying to figure out what to do because they've got a plan for multiple scenarios, right? Because we don't know what the coronavirus necessarily is going to do. But just last week, PSU, Portland State University, released details on its plan for kids going back to school. We know what U of O is planning to do at this point, and same with OSU, along with a number of other colleges. I did a story over the weekend kind of breaking down a few of the things that so far we know that colleges and universities in our area are looking to do. So let's roll that real quick. For Portland State University students, expect more technology-friendly, flexible options. PSU released its plans late last week. They include both fully online courses and those adapted to be online, in-person courses with social distancing, and flex courses where professors may have some students in person and some remote. Right now, PSU is working to update more than 150 classrooms to allow for remote participation and social distancing if necessary. And hundreds of teachers are getting more training to sharpen their remote teaching skills. Meantime, Oregon State University also has a tentative plan. The idea is to provide on-site, in-person instruction. Many courses might be a hybrid of in-person and online learning to account for social distancing. The University of Oregon has a similar plan that includes in-person learning for classes that have fewer than 50 people. Courses with more than that will either be remote or a hybrid. All three schools have said students will be able to live on campus and that there will be virus testing and contact tracing available. Face masks will be required for all faculty, staff, students, and visitors in buildings on campus. And another common theme we're seeing, flexibility and the recognition that things could change. Christine Pitawanich, KGW News. Okay, so here's the deal. We want to know from all of you at home. I know a lot of you are parents, or you may know kids or have kids, that go to school, whether that's college or elementary, junior high, high school. But what do you think? I mean, I know at least for colleges, the ones that we mentioned in that story, that plan is to go to in-person learning. Sometimes there's a stipulation there, like for U of O, if it's a class of 50 or fewer, then they want to try to do in-person. There's also hybrid models that they're thinking about, online learning. So yeah, weigh in on the comments and tell us what you think, because I know a lot of people have really strong feelings about either going back in person or not.
Sure, and we also want to hear from you if you're a teacher or if you know one. How do you feel about being the head of the classroom? Christine and Rod were also getting people weighing in on our KGW Facebook feed. So let's look here. Monique Ramirez-Locke, good morning to you. She says, no school for mine. It's not worth the risk. And then she says that she's homeschooling her kids. Just out of curiosity, Monique, what district are you in? Where do your kids go to school? John says, we're planning on virtual. Same thing, John. Where are you? Which district? Yeah, and Monique says, well, obviously it's going to be easier for college, but what about schools like elementary where there are almost 30 kids to a classroom? You know, you forget about the size of some of the classrooms, and that crowding is an issue in the best of times, and now you get in the middle of this coronavirus thing and it's like you can't do it. Rod, I know that your daughter is how old now? Is she in junior high school?
Yeah, Natasha will be in 8th grade, her last non-high school year. You talk about a crisis, that's a crisis. My daughter's last year of not being in high school. But I do want to share, I just pulled this up. So our daughter goes to Vancouver Public Schools. And in June, the district, as did most districts, I'm assuming, sent out a survey asking for parents to fill out. And so the headline of that survey came back out on June 26th. So I'm reading this off my laptop. A recent Vancouver Public School survey shows strong majority support among students, parents, teachers, and staff members for returning to traditional school in the fall with precautions to protect their health. I believe that strong majority support was nearing 90%. So I know my wife and I, we both support that actually, but we were surprised at how strong the support, according to those who took the survey, was of getting kids back in the class with teachers, at least to some degree, with the safety precautions, as I mentioned, being put back into place.
Yeah, and I know Portland Public Schools, Oregon's largest district, they sent out, I think, a similar, survey to parents as well. I'm not sure if they've already received or compiled all the responses yet, but I know that last week PPS did say that they were going to be focusing on like racial justice and equity as kind of central things as they compile their plans for the fall. And I think this week they plan to release more details on what going back to school will sort of look like. But right now I know that there are teachers all over that are super concerned. I know, Brenda, you asked teachers to weigh in as well, because the worry here, absolutely the safety and the health of the kids, but also, teachers are people too. They've got loved ones who may be immune compromised. They may be immune compromised. So I think there are a lot of questions about how different districts all over are going to handle keeping both kids and teachers safe at the same time.
Absolutely. We have folks weighing in. Alicia Morsman says, I want some class days for my middle and high school kids if it can be safely done. I'm a working single parent and I can't do it all alone with teaching. Boy, that has been a Herculean effort for parents who've had to hold down their regular 40-hour-a-week jobs and then become the teachers as well. Let's see, what else do we say? Lori
did you see Brenda?
Pittenger.
I'm sorry.
Oh no, go ahead, Rod.
I'd say Tatiana, whose kids typically go to the Clackamas School District, and she says that it sounds like they're considering homeschooling. And I'm wondering if homeschooling is not going to have a huge spike this year, because I've heard some of our friends talking about that as well. Anyway, go ahead.
Let's see, I'm just reading one. Let's see. Lori Pittenger says whatever they say now will change by September. And Christine, that has kind of been the way things are. They're maneuvering their way as best they can. But when the facts on the ground change, they have to change their plans.
Yeah, and that's why they're trying to come up with multiple scenarios to try to cover their bases. And I think the name of the game as we go into fall is going to be, as I said in that story, flexibility. And that's what all the schools are kind of wanting parents to keep in mind. Everyone's going to have to be flexible to accommodate for whatever happens with the virus. Yeah, Rod?
Hey, Christine, did you, or maybe Brenda, in your news coverage, have the schools talked about whether it will be possible to, take the temperature in the classroom or at the door and do those types of things every single day or every so often, like a lot of other businesses like hospitals are doing? Do we know?
I haven't personally, and I've been doing a lot of school type stories, and I haven't personally heard the details on that specific thing, taking temperatures at the door. I know that there are probably a lot of proponents to that idea. I think right now they're also kind of thinking about spacing issues. I mean, I know that at some school districts they're thinking it's a potential maybe, playing with the idea that half the students will be in class with the teacher and then the other half of the students might be learning from home, and then maybe they'll swap at some point, cohort style, that's what they're calling it. So like groups of kids that'll all stay together, making it easier to do contact tracing and that sort of thing. But that's probably a good question that I'll ask some districts coming up this week to see if they have any plans for taking temperatures.
So let me see here. Boy, we're getting them fast and furious as far as the comments go this morning. Jeff Lucas, good morning to you, one of our regulars here on the stream, says, I don't know how the economy can afford to keep kids home. Imagine how single parent families would handle that. And then Jamie Garman Smith says, I'm concerned with the mental state of our children as we literally put them in a 35 square foot box for 6 hours a day. Nicole Bradshaw says Beaverton School District has parents who want flex online to register so they know how many teachers to hire for it. There are just so many things.
Well, and the teacher situation, that's difficult too, because say you've got a teacher who can't, teach at the school because of maybe a health issue. Maybe they've got a loved one who maybe they care for or see a lot who has a health issue themselves. What about substitute teachers? Where are these substitute teachers going to come from? I know teachers have also said there's been a shortage of subs before. How are these subs going to be safe and healthy coming into the schools? But yeah, there's a lot of questions. And also, what about sanitation, right? I mean, there is going to be increased sanitation needed at these schools. So one, who is going to have to pay for those supplies? Because often teachers buy their own supplies. I know we've heard from teachers in the past who have said that. Who's going to be doing it? Probably the teachers. On another totally separate topic, or not totally, but somewhat separate topic, are the teachers going to be compensated for the extra time they're going to have to spend cleaning the classrooms on top of developing remote learning curriculum and also teaching in class? There are just so many different facets to this that, there's so many questions.
So Jennifer Crutcher says schools this year will do things so much different than last spring. It will be true distance learning because now there's time for training and planning. Allow teachers to get the program together before you jump to a homeschool program. And she is a teacher, it looks like, because all our viewers are talking to each other as well on here, which we love. But gosh, I just lost the comment.
I know.
Sorry.
It's so.
Did you see the one?
So
ahead,
Jennifer Crutcher, real quick, is replying to another Jennifer, and she says, my classes will be 36 to 39. With budget cuts, class sizes are going to jump higher. Hybrid is the only way to go. So there are smaller class sizes so kids and staff can be socially distanced. Yeah. Sorry, Rod, go ahead.
Yeah, and again, to remind viewers, I'm at home and there's a several second delay between my microphone basically and Brenda's and Christine's that are in the studio, so we apologize for that. I lost the name of the comment, but somebody did say their school district apparently has told them that temperature checks will be put into place. So, and they take your temperature so quickly now, right? They hold up the little thing, it shoots at your forehead and boom, and let you go. I would have to say, I would think that would make a lot of people feel better and seems to be sensible to me if they can work that
And
out.
just curious, whoever made that comment about temperature checks, if you could tell us what school district your child attends class at, that would be beneficial, I think. Also, just so everyone knows, the colleges we looked at, PSU, OSU, and U of O, they're allowing kids to stay on campus, like live on campus, and they'll also be providing, checks of the virus and also contact tracing and all that as well.
Alicia Christine Barnes, good morning to you. She says they just need to go back to normal school. And then Monique weighing in again, teachers are so underpaid, it's a shame. And then Jawan says, what about after school programs that are in schools? I am an after school teacher.
Yeah, I think that is going to be another question too, because earlier in the spring I did a story with a director of a summer camp, and he also ran after school programs, and after school programs are going to be looking a lot different as well, because there are going to be fewer, I think, volunteers allowed in schools. There are going to be restrictions, that sort of thing. So definitely a good question to ask that we aren't sure, I think, what the answer is yet at this point.
Heidi Swinehart, good morning to you on our stream. I won't be sending my son back. He has an IEP and he needs more one-on-one. He will lose learning, so I will make sure I can do what I can. Nike has helped so much through this process. What do you mean Nike? I wonder what that is. I'm not exactly sure, but go ahead and elaborate. I'd love to hear.
And I know from the teacher that I spoke to last week, I think her name is Kelly Ryan, teaches in the North Clackamas School District. You know, she also was talking about her priorities as a teacher coming back this school year because kids have lost out on so much schooling already, after things got shut down in the spring. And it was just so difficult to get the ball rolling for distance learning. And now kids are going to have to make up the difference, get back up to speed. And on top of that, there's so much happening in our world, from the pandemic to the protests that we've seen, that teachers will also have to address. So on top of, trying to figure out how school is going to go, there are just so many other things to talk about, from student success because they missed out on so much school already, to addressing issues current day.
So Rod, how has it been in your household with Natasha? And I know school's out for the summer right now, but how was it? Did your wife do the lion's share of the teaching or whatever Natasha needed to get accomplished?
Well, my wife does the lion's share of everything. Let's be clear on that. Moving forward, I think you guys brought up a good point that this was kind of sprung on the teachers all at once. So Natasha did, of course, have a fairly regular schedule of her online classes. It was toward the end of the year, it seemed like, when that really got going, and it didn't. I don't want to be unfair, but as a father, maybe my unfair opinion was, it seemed like it was very limited learning and not nearly up to the same bar that they would have had if they were in class. So if that is what happens now moving forward, obviously there are Connections Academy, there's a lot of what it seemed to be really high-rated programs where the kids get excellent instruction, and I would assume that the distance learning would be raised up to that higher bar going into the fall. But I would hope so. That's something, and my wife and I have talked about, if it does go to distance learning, we've actually discussed seriously homeschooling, and the main fear there being that we have some fear that the distance learning won't be up to the level that we would like it to be. So, we're waiting and seeing, I guess, is the ultimate answer, like a lot of parents.
Yeah, and Rod, I know you're not alone, because there was a parent I spoke to last week, and she said, gosh, if distance learning is something that her school district is going to do, and if it looks anything like it was looking in the spring, she doesn't think it's going to fly. She just said she couldn't do it because, especially as working parents with maybe demanding jobs, it was nearly impossible, especially for her younger kids, to keep focused.
No, I get that. Alicia is weighing in again. And she says, I know a few teachers personally, and they want to go back to normal school. They know this is going to hurt the kids. Rod, go ahead.
Now, there was these viewer comments on our Facebook feed, they just fly by and you lose them, but a viewer mentioned that apparently she just had a visit with her pediatrician, her family, and the doctor told them that they were seeing an increase in kids coming in with mental health concerns, the isolationism, and I do think that's a big deal. We all grew up saying, get your kids involved in this, get them around, socialize with other children. So the thought of, if it does go to be more of an isolated agenda for how many months and how many months, that's a big growing concern as well that I don't think anybody wants to see go on too long.
And we have Celeste Dreyer weighing in. This is super interesting. She says, as a teacher, I'm worried about my own health and my responsibilities as a parent of a school-aged child. Seems once again teachers are being stretched way too thin and are asked to do multiple jobs. We will, of course, be the ones monitoring all our students' health because there are no nurses taking temperatures daily, on top of developing coursework for multiple cohorts and online learning. Sounds more insane than last spring to me. Wow.
And Deb Barnes says, I am a teacher. We want to be back only if it is safe for all. And apparently she teaches broadcasting, and so she says she can't run a TV station at her school, and she's unsure about how to do that. And by the way, Brenda, you mentioned that last comment about the teacher who's concerned about her kids, her own kids, and the teacher I spoke to last week, she has an 80-year-old dad who's immune compromised. Is she expected to not see him or, to stay away because she's coming into contact with these kids? And that's the thing, is when these kids go home, you don't know what they're coming back with because you aren't, in their home lives.
Katie Davis Mossel, thanks for weighing in. She says, my husband works in a functioning life skills FLS class, and the work he does is very hands-on with the kids. We also have a son in an FLS and have no idea how they're going to be able to teach him because distance learning isn't an option for these kids. So many different situations.
Yeah.
It's no wonder that they're having such a disastrous time trying to figure out what the right thing to do is, because there's so many individual cases.
Right. And gosh, so
Heather
many.
Post,
go ahead, Rod.
I would say Heather post from the Evergreen School District that their survey from the school district came back and it said about 80% of parents wanted the kids back in school, and about 60% of the teachers felt like it would be a good idea. So that's from Heather, quoting the Evergreen School District survey.
Well, you guys are amazing. We've gotten a ton of comments.
Yeah.
So continue to weigh in. We will be back tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock for Sunrise Extra. That'll do it for us today.